Winning at the game of life. Everyone wants to win. Well, at least many people say that they do. And there are infinite versions of winning. There is no one right way. But more often than not, we can be our own worst enemy because we can subconsciously sabotage our success. And that's both the bad news and the good news. Now that I'm in my 40s, I've noticed how we are taught to take life way, way too seriously. And I am absolutely included in that. And being serious in life, so I've found, can interfere with success directly, being too serious about what we're trying to accomplish, how we're communicating with others, really accomplishing that goal. It prevents us from learning faster, actually, making better decisions and making faster course corrections. Whereas if we come from a gaming mentality, games tend to bring lightness because they are ultimately about play. And we know how to play, human beings. It's in our nature to play. That's why we love playing games. Games teach us everything about how to learn, how to grow, how to fail, how to succeed. And they bring a sense of win or lose that we can always play again. Games themselves are about life. And that's why understanding how the process of playing games and gamification can work to our benefit. I've played video games since I was a kid. Probably many of you have as well. And I love getting lost in video games. In fact, in the pandemic, like many people, I indulged on some games on Steam quite a bit. Call of Duty type games, some sci-fi games, etc. Like the Star Wars, things with plot, but where I can kill and shoot, like dudes like to do. But here's the thing about video games in particular, no matter which style you like to play. Video games themselves, right, are a microcosm, a model of what it means to play a game and really try to win it. And win the game of life here is what we're talking about. Always with gaming, there's always that sense of lightness. Hey, it's just a game, right? It's just a game. I can always start over again. Now, of course, it's a little bit different here in the game of life, but we can kind of bring that sense over. It's a little more serious because you can't necessarily try again, at least not yet. We'll see if they have some kind of, rejuvenation technology that's coming with the anti-aging and all the upgrades that we have in technology. But, we can always take it too seriously as well. And whether it's a card game, like Texas Hold'em poker, sport like basketball, or even playing a living room game like Cards Against Humanity, we all understand it's just a game. It's not life or death with these types of games typically. But how do we translate what we can learn from gaming to better win at this game of life? What are the elements we can bring from gaming and leverage them into our lives? How can we better perform, enjoy life more, and achieve all our goals that are important to us while bringing that sense of lightness, of levity that comes with gaming? So I'm going to talk about right now 5 keys into winning the game of life. The first key is lightness. We've all heard someone say in a movie, "This is your life, it's not a game," right? And again, that's true on one level, like I mentioned before. Obviously, you can't just recklessly jump off a cliff without a parachute, without one of those flying squirrel men suits or whatever, and expect to be respawned in the same place that you died here in this world. That's obviously true. In fact, there's just a certain amount of seriousness you must have in order to try to win at the game of life and not die in the journey, because game over if you do. And let me just say it, that the problem with being serious comes in the form of anxiety and fear, maybe anger, things that can really reduce or diminish our state, put us in fight, flight, or freeze mode, where our amygdala is activated in our brain and all the capacities and skills that we've developed just shut down. That's what happens when we go into that mode. And while we need that capacity for when there is actual immediate danger, that's a rare case. The imaginative part of the brain is not activated, which is known as a default mode network, which has an ability to create unique and novel solutions to difficult problems or find creative solutions. So right when the amygdala is activated, we're in fight or flight, that all shuts down. But when we're relaxed, we're open, having fun, there's a sense of levity, of lightness, as I've been talking about, that's when we're open to new possibilities coming to us. We can just notice a new idea, a new action, take action on something we never thought of before, and things can just flow into our reality. What to do, how to solve the problem, etc. And that brings me to the fact that lightness leads to openness and creativity. And prior to coming up with this idea here, I had this very thing happen to me, right? I've been looking for ways to expand my online business, but through means that wouldn't be just social media, through relationships. And I was stuck during the writing of this post trying to use some new concepts to write it and using new frameworks, but it just wasn't working. I was frustrated and getting way too serious about it all. I was forcing, pushing too hard, putting that pressure on myself to get it done. But what I did is I just simply chose to take a break. I realized I needed to lighten up and open up the default mode network in my brain, my imagination, take the pressure that I was trying to do on perform the task, get it done, which doesn't work well with the creative process. And then bam, it all came together. I was trying to write this post. It was all sloppy, wasn't making sense. And then I just saw, hey, I need to bring a key structure to this post. 5 keys snapped into place. Once that structure was there, boom, the first key here of lightness snapped into place. Second, third, fourth key. I organized it all, boom, and there it was. It just came together. Whereas for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes before, I was struggling on the struggle bus. And in years past, I would stick in production mode all the time, and I'd waste hours a day and give up because nothing was coming out. I would try to solve problems as if I was trying to push forward and do kind of a rote task, right? Something repetitive. Instead of hanging out in lightness, openness, creativity, let things snap into place. And there's so much out there, right? So much out there about hustle and grind and overwork culture. I'm still in the process of deprogramming myself from it because I no longer not only want to live that way, I can't in order to create the amount of content that I want to reach people out there, which also is connected to my business and creating clients, right? So I don't recommend, obviously, hustle burnout culture if you're in any kind of creative space, creative business, one-person business, things like this. We need creativity and flow and that lightness. So let's talk about the second key now. Let's go into that of how to win at the game of life. And this second key is you must play to win. You must play to win. Another way to say it is finite games principle. So there's a quote from a really brilliant book called Finite and Infinite Games. And it goes like this. A finite game is played for the purpose of winning, and an infinite game for the purpose of continuing to play. So let me explain that. That's by James Carse from this book, Finite and Infinite Games. So when we play an individual game, right, we must play to win. You can't half-ass it and expect to win. It could be a basketball game, it could be a video game. It's the individual game, right? And you're playing that game and you must play it to win. You got to take it seriously in that regard. It might sound a little bit like I'm contradicting myself, but hold on, just stay with me. I'm not. See, this relates to goals and really going for that focus, and this applies to, hey, what you want to achieve in your life vision. So let's say you want to grow your business. Take a real life example. Buy $200,000 bottom line revenue this year. That's a finite game, a finite goal. Maybe you want to get back into the dating scene, go on 5 to 10 dates in the next month. That too is a finite game to achieve that goal. Maybe you want to lose 10 pounds in the next 3 months. You guessed it, another finite game. So this means that on the short term, we must play to win it and really go for it. Go all out, win or lose, right? We really don't want to be afraid of rejection or failure or losing. We got to play to win. This is the best way to win or lose, and to learn and grow. But it also doesn't mean trying too hard either, right? So we got to be serious about winning, but we can't be overly serious and get upset like I was talking about before. But if you play just to stay in the game, right, and this goes on the half-ass side, and you kind of give up, but you're still in the game kind of playing, but you're half playing, you aren't really playing, and you're violating this principle. The same could be said for throwing the game, right? Maybe you're getting paid to throw a game like can happen in sports, right? And this is by definition with this finite games principle, or what I call the finite games principle. You have to risk losing while doing your best. And it's just not a proposition we like I mentioned before, about failing, feeling rejected. And let me tell you a little story about how I actually did this as a kid, how I threw the game and lost, even though I could have won and was slated to win. So I was at summer camp. My mother had dropped me off for the day, kind of like a daytime summer camp. And what started as this kind of fun dance event. It was a bunch of kids, some counselors there, right? Teachers, counselors. It later turned into kind of this dance competition. And I still picture it. It's burned into my brain. I can still feel like I was there. And I was about 6 years old, I think. And it was really fun. We're dancing and having fun. But before long, the teachers or the counselors start to pair us off into couples. There were at least 10 couples of kids, maybe more. Quite a few kids there, 20, 30. And soon after that, we're all dancing. And I notice that these counselors are walking up and kind of tapping kids on the shoulder. And then the kids are moving off to the side. They have been eliminated. This was an infinite game, dancing. And I'll get into this in a little bit. Getting ahead of myself, but I'll explain. Turn into a dance competition, the finite game. So before I know it, my partner and I are in the last 2 couples. So I kind of noticed this going on. I still am having fun though, and I'm dancing, and I always love to dance. I even do to this day. I'm a decent dancer for a white boy. You know what I'm saying? I'm all right. can hold my own for a white boy, that is. Okay. And here we are, I'm looking around, and now parents have come and they are surrounding us because it's time for summer camp to end for the day. They're coming to pick up their kids, but the teachers have gathered, the counselors, everyone to watch this competition. And they've also changed the lighting so there's kind of spotlight effect on the two couples left, including me and my partner. And I saw everyone staring at us. And we were basically on stage. And I looked at the other couple and I immediately knew that we were better dancers, that we could win this. But then I do something very strange. I make a decision to throw it. I make a decision to lose. I choose to throw the dance competition. I start dancing like an idiot, flailing my arms around, making it obvious that I'm just sort of making this spectacle and that I don't care and I don't want to win. I act up. Not only did we not win, but my partner, she was furious at me, and rightfully so. And the subject of why I did that, that's for another post. But here's the lesson here. Any finite game that you stop playing to win, you will likely not win, just like I didn't, if not definitely lose. And we can do this more than we know in life, for fear of failure again, rejection, not wanting to face up to the fact that what if we do our best and we don't win? Well, on a finite game, short game perspective, it doesn't matter. That's the only way to fly. But if your psychology isn't right, if you don't tune it to be of a winning mentality and a playing full out mentality, we're gonna fail at those things in life in the long term that we really want to accomplish that are important to ourselves. So if this goal or ambition is meaningful for you, right, we have the tendency to want to go the other way, to be afraid. But we've got to use courage and face that fear. We must go in the opposite way. You must play to win full out. And you're sure to win at some point. If it's something you desire, it's aligned for who you are, aligned to your soul, what you really want to do, you're gonna win eventually. If you can do that, take those hits and condition yourself and grow and get mental strength, you will. Otherwise, you won't ever have really tried, and you certainly won't learn, which is the ultimate form of winning in my book, learning and growing. So again, if you're serious about winning, you got to play all out, carry that spirit to the next finite game. And now let's go on to the third key, which I sort of already said. I put it in the last example, didn't realize it, but it is about the infinite game principle. And that means you must play to play. You must play for the enjoyment of playing. So for instance, in the last example, if the short game, the finite game, is the dance competition, or what turned into that, the long game is dancing itself, the art of dancing. If it's basketball, we've got the individual games and championships, playoff games. Those are all individual games. The long game is the sport of basketball itself, the infinite game. And people don't get into something for an infinite game that they don't enjoy. You can't do it. You cannot play a game in the long term that you do not enjoy. You will quit. This is why people get into trouble when they want to do things for money only and they end up hating what they do, right? This is a common trap. Unless they're in the game of money and really like money and don't care about what they do, and they're really in it for the money aspect, which is very few people. Even people like Warren Buffett, right, who work in money directly. He loves the art of picking the stocks and analyzing the data or having conversations with people. Ultimately, it isn't about money for him, even though it's sort of very money tied. If you ever see interviews with him, he talks about this. It's really interesting. So, some other examples of infinite games. If you want to close 5 new clients each month in your business, that's a finite game. Or even, a goal you have for a year. The infinite game is that of business success, right? Or it could be serving clients, something like this, right? Impacting the world through your mission, through your business. If creating 4 new pieces of art for an upcoming show is the finite game, then doing visual art is the infinite game, the long game, right? But here's something that you may be wondering. Why do we need to play and not just win? Well, like I said, it's very unlikely that you're going to win every single finite game. Though maybe some people have come kind of close. I'm thinking about like Floyd Mayweather as a boxer, incredibly high win rate, but he hasn't won everything. But I'm not aware of anybody that has a 100% win rate in anything, any sport, any endeavor. So we're just setting ourselves up for success if we're not okay with failure. And so again, we must play for the love of the game, right? Using myself as example, I love the infinite game of coaching. It's one of my favorite things to do in life. I can have coaching conversations all day long with clients. I could be spent physically at the end of the day, but my soul is filled up. I could actually push myself till I pass out. When it comes to coaching, having deeper conversations of change, of impact, that make people learn, grow, and change on deep levels within their own self-knowledge. Not just learning in memory, but actual transformation of their being, their soul, if we could even say it that way, their identity. I love it more than almost anything in the world. I don't know why. I'm so lucky to have stumbled upon it. And I haven't been without my challenges with having a coaching business, because the business side, I've had to learn to love or really dial in to my mission, and then learn to get better and at least like certain aspects like sales and marketing, mainly that aspect of it. I love the delivery side, but I've had to learn how to do it. And even creating these videos, I've followed certain principles at certain times that were certain marketing principles, but they burnt me out because I had to talk about the same thing over and over, because that's what you're supposed to do in business. Well, screw that. I'm in the long game. If that's going to burn me out, I need to stop doing that. I need to do something that is sustainable and making content like this. And I can make those videos too, and I will, and I do, like videos around social anxiety, specific topics, business. But if I'm limited to one, I know I'm going to burn out and stop. So that is a bad move for me to make. And you might have your own version of that in your life, whether it's your career, your business, something in your personal life, right? So again, a few more examples. Musician is an infinite game, playing music. Being a pilot, obviously martial arts, MMA, yoga, investing. If somebody's really into investing, kind of like I mentioned with Warren Buffett, anything that's that long-term hobby endeavor is an infinite game. So I'm curious, if you drop a comment below, what infinite game do you love to play? What are you committed to? What's your passion? It's something that you want to play and are willing to play for the rest of your life, whether it's related to business or making money or not. It doesn't have to be. I'm really curious to hear. And so for the fourth key, which is you must be growth oriented, learning and growth oriented, but growth oriented covers it. Here's a quote from Carol Dweck from the book Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. Here's a quote. In the fixed mindset, everything is about the outcome. If you fail, or if you're not the best, it's all been wasted. In the growth mindset, this allows people to value what they're doing regardless of the outcome. They're tackling problems, charting new courses, and working on important issues. Maybe they haven't found the cure for cancer, but the search was deeply meaningful. So this is how you win no matter what, right? Win or lose with the finite game. If you're always looking to grow or learn, you win. Now, I admit, again, I have struggled a lot with this, like I had said before, in the last decade of being a business owner. Even though I knew about this concept and even taught it, around areas like social skills and things that I'm really adept at and learned myself, when it came to other areas I wasn't so adept at, I struggled. Some might even call this a victim mindset as a fixed mindset. And an owner mindset pairs with the growth mindset, right? And I did not take failure very well for many years until I hit rock bottom, almost quit and couldn't quit and restarted everything. And here I am, still here, stronger than ever, but I went through some trials and tribulations. Oh, brother. So I would waver between growth mindset and fixed mindset, right? Easy when you're succeeding to be happy and up. Tough if you have a fixed mindset when you're losing, when you're, getting pounded by the grind of business in the market. If you have a fixed mindset, when you're succeeding, you'll love it. And when you're failing, you won't. In a growth mindset, you love it all. And I lost significant time and money learning this the hard way. So I'm hoping to save you some time here, because in the end, again, I was caught in this fixed mindset. So what are the key differences? Well, a fixed mindset means that you harbor a base belief system that intelligence, talent, and other qualities are innate and unchangeable. They're fixed. So if you're not good at something now, you typically think, I'll never be good at that, right? I hear all the time when people say, I'm not good at technology. Well, you can learn. You may not default be good at it, right? When I worked in IT, I heard it all the time, and I could see, I was like, this is such BS. But hey, job security, right? I helped them, but I knew they could learn and do better. It was their state of mind. They had a fixed mindset around technology. We can do this with anything, right? Your view of yourself, your identity is fixed. It's who you think you are with a fixed mindset. And this simply does not work to really succeed in the long run, but it's a rampant mindset in our culture. If you are entrepreneurial like me, it's just a recipe for disaster. I'm telling you. I've lived it. You eventually will fail with a fixed mindset because business will challenge you greatly. It will give you road rash, guaranteed or worse, in that figurative sense. So let's talk about growth mindset. What's the difference? Well, growth mindset means that you hold a belief system where your intelligence and talent can be developed with practice and effort over time. What comes to mind is, right, the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours rule. So you set goals to achieve, right? Those are finite games. You're okay with both winning and losing, always learning and growing no matter what. And let me tell you, if there were only one key in this entire video here to recommend you, or podcast, if I throw it up as a podcast, it's this one, okay? Now for the fifth key, let's have a little bit of fun. And so for the fifth key is view yourself as a player character or an avatar. Player character is PC in video game terminology. I borrowed this idea from Dan Coe. I'm part of his community, greatly respect this guy, really creative, really showing me how to create content in new ways. And this is where we're getting back to video games with this key. In video games, right, your character is an avatar that you take on in whole, and you pretend you're them, you're playing the game, and or you design it. You can design it from the ground up sometimes. Again, others you start with a base character you identify with, but ultimately it's not really you, it's a character you take on. So this is where we can take a look at identity and get a little deeper on the spiritual side and talk about how everything is made up. Everything is labeled and constructed in our realities as humans, pretty much. In certain spiritual traditions and religions, everything is seen as oneness, that there is no separation, that the separations are false, even though they apparently are there. And in my explorations across science, philosophy, and spirituality over the last decades, I believe this is actually the highest form of truth. And one of the biggest implications that I've found in my exploration is that anything that appears to be separate or individual is not quote unquote real, meaning it's transient, meaning it comes and goes. This is just like a video game character, right? So that means that David is not real fundamentally. I have been assigned a name, right? I have belief systems that help me navigate the world. There are these things that are conjured, and I've been taught to help me navigate it, but they're kind of like vapor ultimately. And I know it's very weird. And if we talk about the physical world, it gets even weirder because the physical world seems so real. But there's a lot out there. And this isn't just spirituality and woo, this is science now. There's a lot out there that talks about that what appears to be real is illusory, is not. And what's really real is that which we can't even perceive. And this is a mind trip, right? So again, I was not raised on these ideas. I stumbled upon them. I had a scientific background. I have a molecular biology degree, and I was raised in science. My dad has a chemistry degree. And so what I'm talking about here goes for any human identity in any objects in the world. I know it's pretty radical. Some people might get a little upset and triggered. That's okay. You're allowed to. Anybody can drop a comment. Feel free. We can have a discussion. But this is through a lot of contemplation and study, okay? I know it's radical. I know it's radical. And this viewpoint is known as non-dualism, where everything is one thing, not separate. Spiritual traditions like Advaita Vedanta, Buddhism, Sufism, Kabbalah, and all these things say the same thing. And from what I can tell, even Jesus Christ taught this teaching apparently at his root, even though Christianity seems to have gone a different direction, becoming a thing of its own formed after Jesus died, from all historical accounts, okay? So all these traditions say that all or everything is contained within God. Everythingness or oneness is the same thing as God fundamentally. That means the only real truth is oneness, or God, or all of existence, if you want to call it that. Infinite existence, whatever term, it doesn't matter, just a word, but to really understand this idea, and that anything else isn't really real, like characters in a video game aren't real. Okay, are you with me? So that's right, I just said that in reality, we're all like characters in a video game of life. And like Dan Coe has said, quote, life is a video game. Are you an NPC or the main character? For those of you that are unaware, I talked about the PC, the player character, before, and the NPC is the non-player character, right? In other words, those characters that are around in the game, you know, that you might be interacting with, but they're pre-programmed to do certain things, but they're not you or other players in the game that might be live, right? They're mindless robot characters. And so in most video games, there's a storyline that always includes at least one player character, a PC. And there are hundreds and thousands of, even infinite numbers, potentially, of non-player characters, NPCs. So you're the PC, I also like to say avatar, and all the NPCs are automatically controlled in the game environment, or programmed to react certain ways. So as the PC, right, the idea is you're in control of your destiny within the parameters of the game. Some games are more open world type, which is more like life, and some games are more fixed and finite, and you've got to go down a certain path or set of paths. But you ultimately get to choose which direction to go in the game, the moves you make, the resources you gather, and even select goals or missions throughout the game. So you ultimately have control of your fate or destiny with the choices you make. So now here's the rubber, where the rubber meets the road, rather, on some questions of what you answer to help you try to distill all this kind of crazy stuff I've been throwing at you, right? To help make it practical, because I really believe this is a useful way to look at life, win more, succeed more, enjoy more, and not take it too seriously. So you can better win at the game of life and what you want to accomplish, achieve, and experience. And by the way, you know, open up a document, get out a pen and paper, whatever you want, and you can go over this section of the video to answer these questions, right? Because I'm just going to go through them. So here's question 1 to help you win at the game of life. So what if you take this attitude that in reality, you are a PC, player character, or an avatar, much like that video game character? What might be possible for you? Does this open up any new perspectives? Does it make you feel lighter? Does it make you feel weird or more serious? Can you see an advantage in taking on this perspective I've just shared? and this key 5 especially. What skills do you need to develop to upgrade your player character, your PC? Second question. What resources do you need to build or gather for your PC, right? Next question. What physical, mental, and emotional changes or upgrades do you need to make to your avatar, your PC? It's so weird when I keep saying PC, I feel like PC computer, but it's player character, right? Next question. Number 5. Does your PC need to rest and rejuvenate or heal up, clear some things out of the way to win in the long game? And by the way, what is your long game? If you haven't thought of that yet, I did mention it before in dropping a comment. What's your long game you're playing? What's the infinite game that you're really committed to? Or games, multiple, but at least one. I'd be curious to know, again, in the comments. Let's look at your beliefs. What beliefs does your avatar, your PC, have that hold them back? How do they need to be changed? And last but not least, are you committed to the infinite game for the love of it? The game of life or that particular domain? For me, it's coaching. Could be business for you. Could be e-commerce and business. Could be playing a certain instrument or sport. Could be programming AI, whatever it is for you, being part of the AI revolution. Are you in the infinite game for the love of it, or are you playing only to win the finite games, to only get those little hits? What would be possible if you fully committed to the infinite game of your choosing? Take some time to reflect and write down your answers and gain some clarity. I would love to hear from you in the comments, anything you'd love to share. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe, share out the video. Hope to have you back. Hope to see you again if you're a first timer here. Check the link in the comments. I've got a newsletter you can join. I might have free training down there at the making this video. I'm just inspired to ask you to join my email community for more content like this. So in wrapping up, following these keys that I've mentioned, I believe can help you win at the game of life by cultivating more lightness, but also more commitment to your infinite games of choice and actually win and play full out in the game of life. Really enjoy life, contribute if that's important to you, which it is for most of us, and really have that experience in this game. So it's time, my friends, to really play to win if you aren't already. That's what I say. Time to play for the love of the infinite game, that of life. Play on, my fellow players. And with this video, we are complete. See you next time.